It surrounds us. It's everywhere. Tonight, you will hear from the people who live and work within these highly active locations, all in the efforts to discover America's most haunted. With your host, ghost hunter and author, Dan Terry.
Good evening, boys and ghouls. I am Dan Terry, your ghost host with the most haunted, coming in live here on the UNX Network from the mysterious mountains of Mount Airy, North Carolina. And I have got the most incredible guest tonight. You're going to be just amazed. And you guys know how I am about prisons, jails, things that this lady has done all of that in such neat places, Tombstone, Arizona. And hey, before we start, I want to remind you all, stick around with me to the end because we got an announcement to make at the end of this. All right. Okay. My first guest, or my guest tonight, is Candice Norton. And she is the founder of, help me out with this, Spiritual Paranormal Investigators of Arizona. And this group does a lot of public events, and the proceeds they raise go to save these beautiful old historic buildings. She has done the sheriff's office in Tombstone. I've been to Tombstone. That town is crazy with ghosts, and I wish I could have got into the sheriff's office. And also, the Old Gila Jail in Globe, Arizona, another old jail. I think we got some video from that. So why waste time with me when we could be talking to Candice? Bring her up. Hey there.
Hi, Dan.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fabulous.
And how's the weather down in Arizona?
Actually, pretty good. Now, since we've gone through the rains, the weather has actually been pretty nice out.
Now, we had historic cold lows up here in the mountains.
Oh, yeah. I see that.
Okay, so Candice, you are doing some really incredibly good work raising money for these historic buildings. What kind of buildings have you helped?
Well, we've helped a train depot in Globe. We've helped the sheriff's office in the depot, but our proceeds don't just go to those two buildings. It goes to other buildings within the town of Globe too. Mm-hmm. That they're trying to get back and restore and get back to their original, structure. So it's not just us. There's several different paranormals teams out there, plus other people that live up in Globe that's helping with this whole being able to raise the money and such out there. We're so just one of you.
Would you say this was a ghost town and they're trying to rebuild it, or was it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a ghost mining town. So we don't just deal with Globe. There's a couple other different types of smaller mining towns like Vulture City. We go and do events out there in Vulture City. They help raise the money to sort of restructure some of the buildings that have been missing through in that smaller mining town. And with the Paracon that they've created down there and stuff, and it's helped raise money to rebuild those buildings. So
I think I saw there's a Paracon down around Tombstone or something, and are you a part of that?
I'm gathering this. We're trying to bring in a Paracon down in Tombstone. Yes, we will be part of that. We're also part of the one up in Globe. That one is more recent too. It's we're going into our second year on the Paracon up in Globe. So I find we will be as much a part of it as we possibly can, because the way our team is and what we're about is we're trying to save those historical buildings and such, because it's important for those small towns.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, it's important for American history at that.
Oh yeah.
And I think next Friday you've got a public ghost hunt, don't you?
Yes, we're actually doing a ghost tour down in the Gila jail up in Globe. We do that every second Friday of the month. And so we've been working. There's us on Fridays, and then there's a couple other teams that do it on various other weekends too as well. So we all sort of kind of work together and to bring people up and get them up there to actually get the opportunity to look at the town.
In so many parts of the country I've been in, and it's been a lot. From what you're telling me, you all and West Virginia are the only two places where all the ghost hunting teams are working together. In most states, they're fighting each other and arguing.
Well, that sort of which is kind of when I went into this paranormal, about almost probably about 6. I'm now going almost 7 years into actually functioning with the paranormal. And so, yeah, there was a lot of that going on, but I'm not that type of team. We're not that type of team. We love to be able to go out there and collaborate with other teams, learn from them. How we ever going to wind up understanding the paranormal if we do not try to work together to try to get to understand it? Because the energies in life in general is what makes us grow as far as knowing and learning from each other. That the paranormal to me is very important, that we have that being able to one another and work together to try to understand it. So I find that I've been blessed in that way to be able to collaborate and help other people, or even get with other teams and learn from them.
All right. Well, that sounds really good. So you've been in some amazing places out west. Can you tell us about some of them?
Okay. So we've been down into Tombstone a couple times, as everybody can see. We get down to Tombstone. And our team has had a couple opportunities to do certain locations that is pretty well somewhat off the grid for other paranormal teams, or they've tried to get in. And then it's just weird. We've had the opportunity just because of the fact that they've come to us. It's not like something that we're out looking to try to overcome or overtake or anything of that sort. So we've been able to go into one of them, as you had brought up, was the sheriff's office, which is / basically the marshal's office. And those are things that I can't disclose even right at this moment in time, because we still have to go in and finish our research with it, and then be able to just go in and talk to the sheriff himself before we even start disclosing a lot. But I do have to say that the building and the structure of it is actually kind of interesting. I can tell you this, though. In actuality, the building in front that you see the pictures of used to be, I don't know if it was the city hall or whatever at one time. And then they turned it into the actual fire station. That's why the big doors are as big as they are. And then they went from that to placing it at part of the sheriff's office. Now, that building in front of it isn't actually the marshal's office. The marshal office building is actually behind that. Okay. So they're actually connected together now. So go ahead.
When I was in Tombstone, there was a big wall that separated about where the gunfight took place, pretty much. I mean, there was some of them would have been on the other side of where that wall is. Right. Where is the sheriff's office from there? Is it on the old main street, or is it on another street?
It is actually, it's on, what is that street? It's on the other main street.
It's on the state highway.
The state highway street coming into Tombstone. Okay. So it's actually right diagonal category of the Shuffling Hall.
Okay, so this would not be the place where Johnny Behan was sheriff during the gunfight.
I don't no.
Okay.
Because it's yeah. Okay, so it's kind of really the firehouse that's in the front. The actual marshal's office is it is in the back of it. And I guess you'd say on the other side of it is would be where the parking lot of that is, would be where they say that the gunfight is supposed to have held out. Now, so the thing of this, and the Shuffling Hall is like catty corner from that. So it's like right diagonally from it. So I don't know if you've ever been down the main highway street and stuff, but the Shuffling Hall is completely, like, some of those major buildings are completely off the Allen Street. Allen Street, and is basically got some of the other, like the OK Corral on it, and basically the tour part of it. And even though, because just of who I am, and because I'm a Reiki practitioner, I deal and I push and pull energy. Some of the buildings to me don't feel like they're even set right exactly where they're supposed to be, because that town burned down.
Right.
So when I go down the Allen Street and stuff, I get a little bit kind of confused sometimes of what building. I've gone into buildings and they're sort of, the energies of the buildings, maybe one half of it's this energy and the other half is the same energy it was in the building previous. So, you know, it's but yeah, we had the opportunity to do Shuffling Hall, and we've had pictures up there. We've been able to we've had activity in that building. I think that's probably one of the buildings that I would say that was opened my eyes to a lot of things, I could say.
Okay.
So, and it made me sort of venture off into my paranormal even more, of trying to understand the different energies and being able to try to see if we can't catch the manifestations and such, just like anybody else, and try to understand them. So
sure. Okay, I was in Watt and Tarbell's undertaker shop, and as I was talking to the lady who ran it at the time, and this would have been back around 2018, there was these shadow people that just kept darting around the whole building. I could see them very plainly darting from place to place. Did you ever get into that building?
Yes, I did. And in actuality, it was kind of funny when I got into that building. It was I felt the presence of a woman, and I guess this at the time that I was being told and such, that I just kept feeling that there was a woman that was always up in the front of the area, the shop area, and I'm like, she likes messing with things like the clothes or whatever it was at the time the owner was there.
I believe the owner told me about it. Yeah.
And stuff. And I said, she just likes being around in the clothes, and she just wanders around, and so I've had the opportunity to feel it. And then for her to turn around and tell me, she says, oh yeah, this is who we think it is. And it's this lady. I'm like, I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, it made me feel like, oh my goodness. And then on top of that, that was another thing. I was like going back, because I didn't even know at that given time when I went in there that it was the undertaker's shop area, or the building, right? And so I go back there, and I didn't even know that other room was even back there. But I kept saying, what's over here? And I walked, because at that time they had it covered up. And I'm like, what's over here? This is like, I was like pointing to the left side when I was entering. I said, there is some serious thick energy over here. What's going on over here? And then when she finally told me and stuff, I was like, okay, now I understand why, I'm not one to see, shadows or anything like that. I am more of I sense and feel things by the energy and in layers. To me, everything's like sort of like in layers and pockets. And when I push out energy, it's almost like it ricochets, and I get feelings and maybe shapes, almost like a bat would when they push out their echo sonar.
Okay.
And they get the shapes. So that's sort of what I do. And then it sort of sometimes picks up certain, almost like I'm going into that time. I could literally almost feel the event that might be happening or what might have happened at one point. Mm-hmm. So this is sort of why I've been going out and doing paranormal, because I'm not only the fact that I'm trying to learn about paranormal in general, I'm trying to understand why this is happening to me and why my sensitivities are so sensitive to things.
Okay.
So it's making me help study more about the energies, even off of people in general, because not only that I deal with the dead, I deal with the living as far as doing Reiki as well, a healer. So, but yeah.
Okay. So Watton Tarbells was one. You've been into the sheriff's office. Now, tell me a little bit about the history of the Gila Sheriff's Office.
Okay, so the history of that in 1918, it was built, and the building itself is more of a co-ed type building. It's got women and men in it. And the story behind it has to do with the Kinsley. That's the major big story behind it all. Okay. Kingsley Owls had killed the two young girls, Lulu and Myrtle, which was a friend of his, and he was supposedly murdered them. And then they found the kids up in the river banks, and so I'm not as much of a detailed history buff. I'm not good with that stuff, you guys. Okay. However, the jail itself is active enough between having Kingsley Owls, the girls, and on top of others there. So it's been around since 1918. They've also taken part of the building since they've been restoring it, trying to, in order for them to get some of the functions to it, they ended up bringing some of the parts from the jail out in Florence, some of the places they shut down in Florence, and brought some of the parts to Gila to get it up and functioning, like the doors and stuff. Okay. So we've got a little, to me, when you're bringing something from one place to another, there's a good possibility you may wind up having other energies brought into it. Mm-hmm. So, but the jail is actually like a co-ed. So you have the men, women, and juveniles in this building.
Wow.
And it's yeah. They've also, back in those days, they did some hangings and such. But the tree that they say is not actually in the back of the building. It's actually placed, it actually stands somewhere else in the town. Mm-hmm. So, but it's a fascinating building. I love going there.
Well, when you sent me some videos and photographs, they all seem to be from a jail. Is it one or the other?
Are. That is just the one in Globe, Arizona. Those incidents and stuff. Because, like I said, the marshal's office, we won't put anything out there until when we deal with clients, we go through the procedures, making sure that if anything, videos or anything like that's out there, they are to sign a disclosure. They are well known, but right now we've got the research that we're still dealing with. Mm-hmm. And then once we get with him and the sheriff, like I said, himself, then if he allows us to do that, we'll go ahead and do it. But he's allowed us to go ahead and announce that we've been there and such. So,
Okay. Well, let's take a look at least the photographs to begin with.
okay.
You had, there we go. That was the number 80, I believe.
Yeah. So
And
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
This one here, actually, it's in because when we take photos, we take them in sequence, like 1, 2, and 3. So we took one normal one prior before this. This was a middle one. And the middle one, and mind you, if you see it, it's sort of semi see-through. And that's right through the bars and in the cell is one of the jail cells. So as far as flashes and goes, this is what I'm just saying. It don't know if it was a ruin of the flash or not. But, you know, when we had the second one come across, the second one that I had sent to you is the one right afterwards. Same thing, same place, same thing, except it disappeared instantaneously. And then you ended up getting an orb right up in that corner. Now, orbs to me are fascinating because I find that they're created in different ways, from dust, rain, any type of moisture. We've had anomalies happen that were like complete orbs too. But so as far as what that is, it could be a speck of dust right at the moment, but I find that big, huge blob, I don't know if it's part of that orb, which could be a close-up on it at the same time. I don't know. But I just found it kind of fascinating because I've never had anything like that happen, especially when you're using a regular camera.
Well, my thing with orbs, and I agree, most of them is moisture or dust, but a good friend of mine can actually call them to him, which dust don't usually respond to calling to them. So that's when I believe that there's more to orbs than simply dust or moisture. Sometimes they really are spirit activity. And especially when I've got a picture of a girl holding a K2 meter and a big old orb right above it. But what it doesn't show is the meter was going crazy at that moment. So there's more to it once again.
Right. As like I said, I just find that even though that there's people that disagree with some of the orbs and stuff, I just find that orbs have got a thing of its own that fascinates me because there's so many different ones and types out there and how they may react and stuff. So do I find it like sort of like an unexplainable thing on some of them? Yes, I do.
Well, we was in a old abandoned truck stop, Route 66, the old Diamonds. And the psychic I was there with said, Dan, there's 3 people right with me here. There's a woman and the 2 men who murdered her. And I took a picture and there was 3 bright orbs right over his head in that picture only.
Wow.
So that's when things like that happen, I start believing there's something to orbs. And I think you feel the same way.
Well, I've always questioned on anybody being over people or even seen I sense that I do have sense enough to know when there is somebody over somebody or even over me. I do know that I've had where we've taken pictures of even me being out doing paranormal. Now, this was the strangest thing is that when I was out doing my work and my, one of my team members would take a picture of me and there would be an orb right over my head. Now, this is the weirdest thing. It was a colored orb. It'd be like either yellow or purple.
I've seen those. I can't explain them, but I've seen them.
And that's the whole point. I can't explain those either. So it's like, and it's not in like that one spot where you think, okay, it might be just a moisture or this or whatever. I'd be at a different place. And then yet again, there's another one over my head. So as far as explaining those things, I have no clue.
Okay. Well, you sent me some other videos. Race, would you throw one up so she can tell us about it? Now,
3 floors. Go ahead.
before we start, I just want to let the folks who's watching know that what you sent me was 32 minutes of that thing sitting there by itself going off, sometimes for it go off a couple times, stop for a minute, stop for 20 seconds, and do it again. And it was constant, like there was something pacing or something nearby.
Now that spot there, we've had a few things happen in that spot. So the building is there's 3 floors to the building. And right there on that, you're up on that 3rd floor where the trustees room is. And that spot where that chair is sitting is right next to the door of what they call the suicide bridge. So that bridge there is where there was someone hung themselves.
Okay.
Off of it. Okay. That bridge actually comes from the courthouse to the jail.
Okay.
So that one spot, for some reason, and it's really ironic because from what I've talked to other teams don't have that go off there for some reason. But our team, when we're in there, we get that little thing going off is a handmade REM pod, a homemade REM pod, by the way. It's made out of a garage opener.
Okay.
So that is on DIY or something like that. Someone's posted it a few times. But anyways, very easy to make, inexpensive. So anyways, we put that on that chair or even just the big REM pod we've had in that spot, and it just goes off. And then we've had where we've been able to interact by asking questions. Are you a security guard? Are you a prisoner? And we've had it come back and respond to us. Now, at that given moment right there, we were not in that building at that time.
Okay.
At all when it was going off, because we do tours in 2 buildings. We'll do that. We have in the jail, and then the other part we go to a train depot. And at that given time, there was nobody that had to have been in that building, because the only other time you would know if we were in there, because you can hear us talking, because it echoes through that building. You have to be really seriously quiet in that building. You can even hear people from outside.
Okay.
So at that moment in time that this was taken, this had to have been when we had our still camera going. Nobody was there. So, I mean, how can you explain that unless somebody was either pacing back there or walking by it or touching it? And
somebody who you couldn't see at that moment.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm still, even at this moment in time, we keep doing various tests on what possibly could be setting it off, because there is wires that are along that building, by the way, that the RK2s do pick up. It's like a load amount of wires that it comes through that building on a certain side of that building. Your K2s can easily pick it up.
Okay.
So you have to be careful on that, but the way it was consecutively going, it'll stop and then it goes back on. If it was a full voltage, you'd have more of a solid, constant current, going off, or even a pattern.
For the 32 minutes, there was no discernible pattern. It was, like I said, sometimes it might be a few seconds. Sometimes it might be 3 or 4 in a row. Sometimes it might be steady or nothing for a minute. So, boy, it'd be hard for me to believe that's an electrical current running through.
Right. And the other thing we do is, because for whatever's there, we do know it likes to play with different toys.
Okay.
We do take different, we have, like, below that chair, you might see this little green thing, and it's actually our little Yoda. It's another censored, and it it's Baby Yoda, so he makes these little squawking sound. So whenever we bring a new piece of equipment for that spot to play with, oh, it's on it. It's like it likes to play with new things.
Well,
Yeah.
at least the ghost is having a good time. That's awesome.
Yes.
The death can be really dull.
Yes. I think that's why they like playing around with us, like paranormal peeps.
Yeah, some actually look forward to it, I think.
Well, I do know that jail knows the spirits in that jail do get familiar with the teams that come in, without a doubt. And and I do know that they, from experience, they react to each team very differently. So I think it's just the way that how certain ones that communicate. But we have a tendency, my team, we have maybe a couple of skeptics. Personally, I'm still just as skeptic as anybody else. Okay. Because I'm still trying to figure out, I like to stay on the scientific part of things too.
Okay.
And such, because to me, it's important that I try to explain to me the way I see things. You literally nearly have to have the unknown and the scientific basically in order for things to function. And I know when I sound weird to everybody, it's almost like you have to have the positive with the negative for things to function. And that's the way I feel, that the scientific part of it and the unknown part of it, they interact a certain way and such. So I'm out there to try to explain to people that we both have to function together. And so I do logically try to think on the scientific, what's possible. So anytime we go into anything, it's the first thing we do. We check the basic electrical boundaries. We check any possibilities of any type of noise, any type of things that can possibly happen, even if it drops, falls, whatever, before we even try to figure out and say, hey, this is like a paranormal thing, because we're still out there to basically get people to understand. It could be this could possibly be because of this scientific reason too, so.
Over the years, since I started this back in the 79, the more you go into a place and the ghosts feel comfortable because they know you're not there to hurt them or cause problems, the more active they become. And honestly, I have to say there's a few that I consider friends, even though I've never actually seen them. But they do as I ask. They play around. I went into one and said, we're here to make some money to help preserve the building. I need you to let folks know you're here. And I had one run screaming out of the building that night, but the rest were enjoying it.
Yeah. Oh, I totally believe that, because I know we've been in a place where they've called out our name.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it sort of shocked me because I didn't expect it. Because I was just like, how do you even know and explain that? We didn't even come out and say who we were, but they knew us well enough. And that goes to show, that also makes me wonder if some of that energy that's even watching, that follows us and such, which puts maybe the possibility that might happen when you go from one place to the next.
Yes.
Which is another reason why I keep telling people cleansing yourself is a very good thing.
Absolutely.
Don't want to carry those attachments and stuff. But I do know that they interact with teams very differently, because I've been able to watch the other teams on the places that we investigate, and they investigate the same ones, and they interact with them differently. But I find that it's how the comfort zone of those unseen energies feel towards them, those people and such. So, and that's their way of communicating with them. And that's why my team is kind of a little different, because we deal with different types of medium in our team. I have scribing. There is some that channel. There is some that just me in general, because I do a little bit of different things when I go in. So they'll communicate with who they want to communicate at that given time. And whatever we get, I find that our team is very blessed to be able to have them respond to us, whatever they give to us. So,
all right. We got 2 more videos we want to get to because they're pretty interesting.
Okay, go ahead.
Race, would you throw one up for us?
Okay, so I'm getting something on the SLS right in front of the door. And it's just moving everywhere. Oh, and it's gone.
Alright, so
That's so weird, it's gone now.
for about 5 minutes, you and I go in.
It's completely gone now.
Landing? Yeah. For about 5 minutes, you only answer and run in there real quick. Okay. We'll see what we can do about stirring these things up a little bit. Get a little activity going up.
Okay, I've still not quite figured out those, what do they call SLRs? Is that? No,
SLS cameras.
SLS. Both times I've worked with them, with a team out of Kansas, they really have shown some interesting stuff. What was going on there?
So what they were doing, they were going and we were going around with the SLS camera. It's the first, that was one of our first times. Actually, I think we ended up they were new to us at the time. And so we were trying it out. Well, there's always the theory of the fact that that town might be haunted all the way around. So yeah, we go into this building in the jail. You're going to, I'd say about good 90% of the jails you go to, you wind up having activity, and you will.
Agreed.
Because I believe that residual stays within its walls. I believe that when you have dramatic things happen, it sort of gets imprinted. So there's certain type of energies that stay there. Okay, so you're going to get some sort of activity. Now, the question was always once in a while that we'd say, well, mining towns are haunted too, even outside. Are they haunted outside? Well, this gives you the test of, here's this SLS camera, it's censored. So you play off the Wii, it gives you motion detection censored, and that's what it was doing. So whatever was in front of there, you got the stick figure, and it's sensing something standing in front of that spot, which wouldn't surprise me if it was like a cop or some sheriff that might have been standing out there at that given time, because we have in one of the rooms down there, have picked up a stick figure setting off a what do you call it? A music box, those music box. And it was setting it off. And we had the SLS camera showing that too. And you can see them almost dancing or like triggering it off in front of it. So but like I keep telling people, I said, it's not just inside the buildings that the hauntings may happen. You're even outside and stuff. So do I believe Globe is haunted in that town? Yes, I do.
We was in the Hotel Josephine a little over a year ago. I was in the most haunted room, and I said something somewhat kind of insulting, I suppose. I didn't mean to, but the SLS camera showed a green figure like that trying to hit me. He actually made about 4 shots trying to hit me, and then all the power ran out of this brand new battery on their cameras. So
again, we do have them doing that. We had one hitting me too when I was in the solitary confinement that jail. We had an EDI meter, and the EDI meter shows the temperature changes and stuff like that. So it's going up and down. It's fluctuating, sitting on a chair in the solitary confinement room. And I was going over there and I went and I'm like, we had the SLS camera and he was like standing there, literally almost playing with it, dancing in front of it. So I went up there and I went beside it and I was like putting my hand out and I said, he's right here because I feel him. And you could see my hand with that SLS camera and his hand, me touching him where he was. And then I was right in front of the EDI. And it was funny because one of my team members says, he is looking straight at your face right now because you see the stick figure because she says, I think he's getting upset. You're in front of his toy. And stuff. So I was like, so we get amused sometimes with those SLS cameras trying to figure out what they're doing. So
we got one more video. So let's check this one out real quick, Race, if you would.
Yep. This is our thermal camera here. So I find this fascinating. So I'm standing against the wall and my hand's up there. And then you see on the side, right on the side, there the wall is sort of flat. And then you got an angled part where the window ledge is. Right. And if you look, it almost looks like another handprint sitting there with that thermal. Now the thought is, my thing of it is trying to figure out, well, is that an aftertouch? If it's aftertouch, that red means it's warm. Right. So, and the wall's all blue, but there's nobody there. And I never even touched the wall, but it's sitting there. So I just found that a little fascinated because thermal is supposed to show the temperature changes as far as light, dark, cold, and stuff. So I've not yet seen any. I do know that we've had an incident with me and a team member when she had her thermal. We were at a cemetery, and that was probably one of the first times I was fascinated with thermal because we ended up getting a figure in the cemetery walking right in front of this, like not the tombstones, but the place where they have the plaques. It was a full body. And there was nobody there. It was just us. Walk right in front of it.
That would be neat to see. That's incredible.
If I can dig that up and find it for you guys, I'd be more than happy to let you guys see. It's kind of fascinating. I got to find out if she still has it and stuff. But that was when I got interested in the thermal and stuff. So, and at the jail, this was one of my first times of running the thermal. And I just found that a little bit fascinating. Where did that handprint come from? There's nobody else there. I didn't touch it. And my other team member was a little further away from the wall and she wasn't even leaning. So,
okay. You are doing a lot of work in helping to preserve these historical buildings. What have you done on this? You mentioned Globe, the city, and what else?
Well, so this is when our team came out, we just sort of bolted right out of the gate. I mean, seriously, I just started and I went right into it and stuff. So I ended up I personally went on Facebook, started finding and getting to know a lot of the different paranormal communities and stuff like that. So, our team donates money into the buildings that we go into. So we've done like the Milligan House. So we help promote these places too. The ones that do the tours, we help promote them. We donate money towards them. And if they give us the opportunity to go into the buildings, we donate money to them and stuff. And we announce where we were. We help promote them. Like we did in Flagstaff, the Milligan House, which was an interesting house that we enjoyed being into as well. But a lot of people had different reactions to that place. But it just so happened that we ended up having a positive reaction in that building. We were able to get it to tip a dollar bill, which we left there. We left the dollar bill for them and stuff. But even though the fact that we may not be doing tours, we do go into these buildings and we donate the money for them for us to be able to come in and do an investigation on top of announcing the buildings we've been at if they're looking to do any type of tours or anything of that sort. We've done the slaughterhouse down in Tucson as well. And that was an interesting situation because I've never been in a haunted attraction building. So that was something different for us too. But yet again, it's a building that's being used for a haunted attraction, but it's yet been around for so many years. We donated our time and our money to just go in and stuff. So we do whatever we can. We do Paracons. We go, like I said, we've been in Vulture City. We help set up for that. We help get promotions, vendors in and help them raise the money and stuff. So we're just around doing whatever it takes.
Well, I know you also are doing some tours and such to raise money specifically for this, right?
Yes, we do that at Globe. We do it every second Friday of the month. We are right now, we're trying to, there's a couple of the places that we might be thinking about doing, but right now we're trying to stick with the Globe because we've been asked to do various other things because we also do residential homes as well. So we keep ourselves busy with some of those residential homes because we're out there just to help them. By the way, and stuff. So we don't ask for money. We don't ask any of that sort. But if they do choose to donate any money to SPIA, we wind up taking that money and donating it to the historical buildings.
Okay, so Candice, we're about to run out of time, I'm afraid. Can you tell me? Yeah, no kidding. How can people get a hold of you if they have questions? I have actually done a few out of Arizona, so I think I got some people following me down there.
Well, you can get a hold of us on Facebook as SPIA of AZ or Spiritual Paranormal Investigators of Arizona. We are on YouTube too as well. And let me see, Twitter. I'm not very good with Twitter though, but those two major ones is YouTube and Facebook. And so you can get us at SPIA of AZ at google.com.
Okay.
We also have a website, which is SPIA of AZ of Arizona, I should say, at .com. Off of it's our website. I'm still we're doing some changes on that, so I am I'm not on there as much because I'm going through a lot of new updates right at the moment with that website. So, but your best bet is getting us on Facebook.
Okay.
So, and message at any given time. So I usually get back to you. There's always one of us or two of us on there maintaining the Facebook and the YouTube. So,
okay. All right. Well, Candice Norton, and you are the founder of Spiritual Paranormal Investigators of Arizona. Yes. And I remember the of this time. So we're in good shape.
Yes, because it's important.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And what's that?
I don't want it to get confused. Somebody owns that other one. That's why I had to change it.
All right. Well, anyway, thanks again for coming on. I sure appreciate hearing your stories about the Old West and the ghosts therein.
All right. Thank you.
Talk to you later. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
All right, folks. So ghosts in Arizona. She is, I think, the third person from Arizona we've gotten. It's an incredible area. And I'd really like to get back down there. I wish I could spend more time in it. Do have an announcement to make, and it's going to be kind of interesting. First, you need to know the UNX network is growing incredibly well. And starting, I believe, on the 20th of January, we have Clyde Lewis. I hope I'm pronouncing that first name right. I think it is Clyde Lewis. And he has a show called Ground Zero. He's going to be on Monday through Friday, and it's pretty incredible. I mean, this guy is on a lot of stuff. We're very fortunate to have a big name here, and what he is doing, paranormal, cryptids, aliens, but kind of all with maybe not all of it, but some of it with a conspiracy bend to it. And honestly, you cannot look into UFOs without bringing in government conspiracy. Those two subjects have to go together. So we're really looking forward to having Clyde come in. And also, you ready for this? My own producer here, Race Hobbs, is starting a show. Actually, he's restarting one of his old shows. It's called Phenomenon Radio. It will be starting soon. And he'll be talking about, a lot of different things, mostly UFO related, including the Rendlesham Forest situation. And it's going to be also him hosting some of the old interviews that he did and Linda Moulton Howe did and some others. He is moving on, doing a great job. And I'm telling you, if you're into UFOs, you're going to have to check that out, because Race has the greatest of the UFO people involved. So, of course, we still got Ryan Sprague doing Somewhere in the Skies. We've got Sasquatch Tracks. We've got so much going on. Dreamland with Whitley Strieber. My God, who could be bigger than Whitley Strieber? And while all this was going on and changes were being made, I wanted to talk about switching my time slot. Friday is an amazing time slot. I know, I love it, but there's so much more I want to do, and it's kind of handcuffing me. As you know, I'm going to spend a weekend in Missouri coming up. I'm going to spend a weekend in West Virginia at a ghost conference where I'll be speaking. There's ghost conferences, Bigfoot conferences, they're all over, and my place is to be there. So as of today, we're going to be changing, and I'll be on, I believe, starting Monday after next at 7 p.m. on Mondays. So don't forget me. Look me up. Most Haunted, Dan Terry, 7 p.m. Mondays right here on the UNX Network, because I'm hoping with this kind of a change, I'll be able to get a lot more stuff to bring you folks. Not that we don't have some awesome guests anyway, as you can tell. And boy, in the last few weeks, we have had some amazing, incredible guests. So that's all going to keep going. Same guests, same type of folks, all the best people in the paranormal field you've never heard of, because they don't have their own show anywhere. But I'm going to be bringing them to you and introducing them to you, because their stories, just like with Candice, is pretty incredible. So stick with me, Mondays, 7 p.m., starting in a couple of weeks. And, of course, my show will still be on YouTube. Most of my audience watches it on YouTube later, which is awesome. So thanks for backing me. Thanks for supporting me, folks. And with that, I think I'm going to step off. You all stay spooked. Good night.